6:30. So tell me when you're ready there, Miss Rita. We're ready? All right, I'm not bagging the gavel. I'll bang my fist. We're ready to go. All right, so thank you, everyone, for coming. It's great to see everybody here tonight. And I met you, Brian. I appreciate you coming. So we'll go ahead and call this to order at 6:31 p.m. Roll call, please.
Shane Nielsen.
I'm here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Alvina Kaiser. Here. Jimmy LeGrand.
Here.
Erica Smith-Payne.
Here.
And Corey Strock.
Here.
Welcome.
I think I need to check your network, sir.
It's always right.
Okay, so facility use update, but if we want, we can go ahead and start. I promise to put this to the front because I know Brian's got other things to do. So there was to put it politely, a question raised by the community about the track usage and public running on the track, which has been shut off recently. So can you kind of give us an update on the stadium and track?
Right, I think it was characterized as being shut off, but I think there's another reason for it, and it's really a good reason. Basically, what it comes down to is the facilities being used for what it was designed for. So when we think about the number of teams that we've expanded to over the past couple years, we now have 3 football teams working right now. We have band, and during the regular school day, we have the stadium and track facility reserved for use for students. After school, it's booked for the 3 different football teams and band. On Saturdays, it's booked with the football league that uses it. That's paying for its use as well as band. And on Sundays right now, we don't have anyone to open up the track, so it's been closed on Sundays.
It's been closed on Sundays for a while, so.
The field is also used by the, Junior Mustangs most evenings, right?
Right. Yeah, Junior Mustangs or the band or somebody has a reserve most evenings at this point.
So
I think
Your Mustangs come in after the high school team's done.
Right.
So until it's dark.
So basically the point of this is that my only question would be, or statement would be, it might have been a little more advantageous for those of us with elected officials as part of their title for the public to have been notified rather than just suddenly, someone calls and says, hey, what are the track hours? Because they have been updated. And the answer is, oh, there are none. It doesn't help this entity, this group who is supposed to know these kinds of things, not know.
Right.
So, some communication would have helped, I think. Is it possible? I would like to get a schedule for the Saturday usage for the field for the next 3 months so we can see who's got it. And I don't know if Jimmy has that or Rita, but I want to include any school participation, band, because I know he's got a bunch of tournaments or stuff he's trying to set up. But I'd like to try to get a schedule to see so I can show the community what is being used and how it's being used and how long it's being used so that we can indicate, like you said, the facility is being used for what it was actually built for, which is school-based events. And when it's not being used for school-based events, it's been rented out by an entity that's paying for it.
Right.
But if there are any Saturdays available, I'd like to try to find them so we can open up the track on Saturdays. Okay? So if anyone could please get me a schedule before the next board meeting, not committee meeting, so we can see that and maybe we can discuss it at the board meeting to try to get
Are
something
you
done.
referring to the board meeting, the next September board meeting?
Yes, which is
Next
It's easy. We can get it for you. It's easy to get.
right. I was going to say it should be. It's in civic
Make sure that
permits,
you're
right, or at
clear
least
with
most
it.
of it. So yeah, but I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's you, and I don't give directions to staff, so I'm asking the people I can give
Oh,
directions
we can
to
get it for you.
up here, well, on this side. Yes, that's kind of, well, I don't get to tell the high school vice principal what to do. That's not part of my role as a board member or a committee member. So
That's
if
information.
someone
That should be easy to find.
could get that for me so we can
easy.
put it on as a discussion item. I'll ask Kirk and Matt to put it on for a discussion item at the next governing board meeting. So, and like I say, I knew what the answer was because school started, and that's what happens when you have 3 football teams. And football practice starts at about 3:30, and you're going to run about an hour and a half, 2 hours each practice. You're not done till about 8 o'clock ish, and then the Junior Mustangs come in.
Well, like I said, they go to like maybe 5:36, but then the Junior Mustangs are right there after.
Only do 2 hours of football practice, really?
Actually, they go till
They're getting soft, I think.
7. Actually, they go till the JV is out there till 7:30.
And then the varsity, right?
Well, actually, the JV and varsity are
Do they practice
They're-
together?
practicing
I was out there
together.
5 there in the field. There were teams I couldn't tell which was JV varsity, but it was full.
Oh, okay.
Kids.
So they're co-practicing.
And
then. Okay, then
And
that,
then
that
I
makes
think,
sense. But still,
I think the
7:30.
Junior Mustangs come in at 7:30 or 8 o'clock and are there for I don't know how long.
Okay, well, I mean, if you're gonna do at least an hour
Yeah.
practice, that's 8:30 at a minimum, and that's if everybody moves timely. So, I mean, like I say, that's, I knew what the answer was, and we do have 0-period PE classes, don't we?
We don't have 0-period right now.
Okay. So is there any reason we couldn't open it in the morning before school?
I don't know, I can look into that. and
If
come
you
back
could,
with
that
it.
would be
Sure.
great, because we were doing that for a while.
Doing it for a while.
And,
I'm gonna try
and to be
this
honest with you, that's when runners are gonna wanna use it.
Right.
Before.
Crazy fools that some of them are to run at 6 in the morning. That's
Is
not
that
me.
you? No?
No. I usually run around 1 in the afternoon when it's like 100 degrees
Oh my
and
gosh, I
disgusting,
couldn't
so.
do that. That makes sense.
I usually set my alarm for 6 a.m. and
And then smack it.
then
Yeah.
my wife really actually hates it.
What time does school start again?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
So if we could get like a 6:30 to 7:30 or even 8 o'clock-ish
One of the
time.
custodians on
6:30?
6:30.
See, that would, if we could do something like that just to help out, I think, like I say, the whole idea is to try to provide what we can where we can. And if we could do even an hour and start kicking people off, you
Yeah,
know,
we can take that back.
I don't know what kind of hassle that would be, Jimmy, but you can feel free to present that when we take it to the full board.
Okay.
You know, like I said, I don't know what kind of hassle it'll be for staff, so.
I'll talk to Jesus. I don't think it'd be a huge deal. Open the gate and go back an hour or so later and lock it back up.
Okay, just to check into it. Okay, anyone else have questions for Mr. Shem?
Well, since he's here, do we also have a discussion item on the high school baseball and softball fields?
Yes.
Should we
yeah.
discuss that real quick as well?
Yeah, we can jump around if you want, so that way
if
you
he
can go
wants-
home
if he needs to
and
bill,
see your
yeah.
family.
Sure. I'm not an expert on it, but what I was told is, according to the manual that we're using right now, that the baseball and softball fields haven't been opened up to public use in the past, and
That's
it says
correct.
that in the handbook.
They've never been opened up, right?
No.
Right.
There was something about, there was something about, I believe, seating, making sure that it was all set before we could open them up to the public. If I recall correctly, it was something along those lines.
Restrooms out there either.
No, and that is a
issue.
concern, is there are no public restrooms. If you were to rent the baseball and softball field, there are no restrooms, none.
Is that an actual issue? I mean, from a legal standpoint, or is that just like a convenience issue?
I don't know if it's a legal issue, but, you know, if you were gonna have a baseball tournament or even a couple of baseball games, I'm sure it'd be a technical issue. I'm hoping, we did a walk and tried to discuss fixing that when the new buildings are finished.
I remember
but-
discussing, yeah, possible.
And unfortunately, there aren't even any bushes nearby.
Nope, nope, no trees, nothing. It's barren wasteland. So, but I do think at some point we need to look to change that policy if the fields are in the kind of condition they need to be. At least talk about it. You know, whether or not the school wants that, whether or not maintenance and operations wants that, or we want that to present to the
Right,
board.
and I think another issue too is the parking. They would have to park on the street, and with all the construction that's already happening, we're having issues already with getting around the high school.
Yeah.
That would also
Yeah,
be
but those are the kind of logistical issues the people who would you want to use the facilities would need to deal with. As long as they know that those things exist, there are no restrooms, parking's at a premium. That's on them if they still want to use it. The issue we've got is in Mountain House, there's one true softball field, one, and it's at the high school. There's of all the other fields and all the other parks that have been built, there is not one true softball field. And we do have a thriving girls softball league that would like to be able to use it. And if we can find a way to do it, I'd like to. And to me, it's the same with the baseball field. Not all of the kids, but if the 7th and 8th graders that are coming to get ready to play at the high school, I'd like to see if that's a reasonable thing to discuss. And like I say, not just my voice, but high school's voice and maintenance's voice. So that we could put that on the next agenda is, I'd like to discuss revising the policy. And then you guys can all provide your input, and then we can decide whether or not we want to revise it.
So we'd have our first amendment
Yes. Well, if we decide to.
if we decide to, so.
we can
we'll
decide
just
not
kinda
to.
put- Yeah,
We're just discussing whether or not to
Yes.
even talk about it. So if everyone's okay with that, we can invite all the interested parties to present their side of things, and then we can decide whether or not we want to change it. We
Yeah,
can't
that's
do
fine.
it as a discussion item.
That's fine. I would just think if we're going to open it anyway, we probably want to open it after construction, given the issues with parking and the whatnot. The softball field is near the parking lot that's being used, right? Like baseball's on the other side,
That's
right?
more than a year away before they finish the construction on that side.
They won't.
And
So it'd be
unfortunately,
after softball season.
that might be a necessity even though.
Exactly
it
right.
is-
It's something we have to talk about. That's
Because
why,
as you said, right now, parking at the high school is at a premium for anything, including during the school day.
I hear drop off's super easy.
yes, you hear correctly.
oh my gosh.
Well, like I say, I think if we at least get all the interest parties in, if we decide not to do it, we'll have a legitimate reason why. And the people, I would like us to invite, why did I just draw a blank on his name?
Ben
Mountain
Faubert?
Soft Bear. No, Softball.
Patrick?
Patrick?
Patrick, yeah, Patrick Martins. because he's the head of the local softball team, and whoever's in charge of Mountain House Baseball, Mountain House Little League. I don't even know who it is.
Trevor sounds
Is it Trevor
familiar.
Main still?
Is it still Trevor?
I honestly don't know. So if we could just, because again, I just
got
wanted to
they
be
got
an open
turnover at that
discussion,
one.
and if we have to say no, they can at least be here to hear it and hear
Okay.
the whys. Okay? Anyone have a problem with that? Questions?
No?
Nope. Anything else for Mr. Shum?
No, I was just bringing that up. I didn't even care about the fields.
Well, thank you. That way Brian can go home now.
I figured he was here. I figured he was here. We could talk about it later anyway.
I
since he's
agree
here
with
now.
you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, so the minutes from the last meeting are here. Any changes or corrections? I'm sure we all read through them with a fine-tooth comb like I did. No changes, then we will move on to usage reports, which I always find interesting. Unfortunately, right now, the reports still don't break out school site usage from other usage, and I want to try to get that done so we can illustrate for the community how much of our facilities are being used by the community versus being used by the students for student activities.
You can't break out by tier at all.
We have tiers, but
why don't we
tiers
just-
also includes foundations as
Why
well.
don't we just create a
That's what I said. Why
fake
don't we have
tier,
a
like a
tier
tier
0?
Tier
five.
1A for this foundations.
No, there needs to be, we need a tier
like a tier
specifically
five or
for the
whatever.
schools.
Call that the schools.
Tier 1 is all for the schools, but it also has, I think, foundation.
Right, but so we need to, the
Has a
way to
what?
do this
What
is to
else is there?
segregate out the high school, the elementary schools.
on?
High school and elementary.
Students, all of the students in school usage,
Yeah, you could. I mean, so
just
tier.
create a tier for them.
So right now, if you try to print a report for tier 1, you just get all of tier 1 and tier 1A,
Well, we don't have a 1A. We just lumped both
get all tier one.
foundations.
which includes the people that we're calling tier 1A.
Yes.
Which
are
includes the school foundations, any school groups,
So then all we have to do is
Create a tier.
create a tier 1.
And a tier.
And
Well,
a
we have
tier
a 1.
1A.
We can tier 1A.
and 1A would be the foundations.
Well, however you can segregate it
You can
so
break
that
out the reports. Yeah.
Okay.
that it makes sense that all student school-based activities are a separate tier, so we can get a
I think
report.
we can probably go back to each of those organizations, the foundations, and change them to a tier 1A. I don't know if it books it retroactively. We'd have to check.
You know, we'll have to change the role over there.
Okay.
They all when they type in their application, it goes in as tier 1.
Right. Or tier 1. Right.
'Cause it looks great
I
to
mean,
say.
given
for
the current
example,
given the current settings, can't you print reports by reserver? Like, could you print a report of Wickland School Foundation's hours? I mean, if that's the case, all you really need to do is print 5 reports, right? One for each school, because each school is probably in as an organization, right?
If it has it that way, and we've been trying to still fine tune the users, because right now the
they set
user
them up.
has a backup. So there could be 2. You might have double.
Oh, it's by user, not by organization. Oh, you can't have
user.
2 users to an organization. You have. I mean, so
Group names. So if it is
No,
Wicklow
that's-
Foundation, then maybe only the foundation.
Oh, yeah, this does say group, so it might.
Let me see if I can work that.
Okay.
yeah, something like that. I mean, 'cause I know that like at least for Wickland, we just share a single login, so it'd be easy for us. But if it's only by user, then yeah, you would.
So
It does say group, but I think I recall saying it like the same group. Okay. We'll take a look
And
at
then,
that.
as a question, when you call something the football field, is that separate from the stadium, or is that the stadium? So on the report for Tier 2A youth groups, there's a football field and a
Stadium's 2
stadium.
down.
Stadium is
2 down.
only at the high school.
What's the football field then?
Because we don't have football fields anywhere else. Only the high school.
So the way I read this report is, and I just want to specify that, over 300 hours in the last 6 weeks have been, of the football field at the high school, have been used by the community.
So that's not only high school, it's for.
That's what we're asking. Yeah.
Right, no, but the football field on the Tier 2A report refers to the high school football field, correct?
Oh, these little numbers over the top.
So what we can do is
I
we'll
think the
look at
junior
each of
Mustangs,
these.
when they put in for a permit, they put in for football field.
Okay.
What about flag football?
No,
They
I
put
don't
in
have
for
any flag football.
But that's my point is that I believe the junior Mustangs in the last 6 weeks have reserved 220 hours of the high school football field.
Right.
If you do the math, they're using the field at about plus or minus 20 hours, 25 hours a week, every single week. So again, no one's here to hear it, but the stadium is absolutely being used by the public. It is.
Which is probably a couple hours a day, 5 days a week, and then 12 hours a day
On Saturdays.
On Saturdays.
Correct. I mean, that's, if you add 225 hours between July 26th and September 9th, and you take 225 hours, that's a lot of tier 2 usage, youth group usage of our high school stadium, plus another 30 hours because it's called stadium below. So it's over 250 hours of the high school in the course of 6 weeks, or if you do some math, 40 hours a week of the high school's football stadium being used by the public. So whether people watch this video or not, I want to illustrate that point.
Is there a reason that it's broken down between the
He
football,
thinks that it's because of how
how they request it?
Why is football field an option?
I don't know. Whenever they
shouldn't be an option. so.
whenever they set specific permits, that's how they set.
Well,
it.
the whole idea back when they were doing it, we were going to say that during the week, you could still use the track, and you weren't reserving the entire field. So the
Talk about for
stadium was
practice.
right.
Yeah.
But most people didn't like that because apparently you could get killed by a stray football. So,
Right, you're running, yeah, and then someone.
so like I
flies
could go
off
on the track
sideline,
and
yeah.
but
Well, we also stated that if somebody rented it.
I'm with
Rented
I'm
the
with Mr.
facility,
Strzok
nobody else
on
could
that.
happen.
A whole lot of things could happen if you're going fast enough between the sideline of the football field and the closest part of the track, which is still a good 15 yards, and I miss you. I think that's my fault as
Well,
a runner, to be honest.
I think part of that
guess-
also was not wanting our kids out there
Kids,
practicing
right.
with whoever from the community or not from the
the Sharon
community
Lampel defense.
running on the track.
So it's, but like I
It's
say,
Corey's favorite stranger danger.
favorite stranger did. I just want to illustrate that for whatever it's worth, I get the frustration of not being able to run on the track whenever you'd like to. The track is being used by the community a great deal. So
It sounds like the best option moving forward would be in the mornings for
yes,
the
if we
track.
can get morning track usage, if that's going to work out between you guys and the high school, and it's not going to cause any problems. Because I thought we had a 0 period PE, but I could be wrong. I thought we had that for some kids.
third grader.
I know. I have a high school, but she has PE third period, and it drives her crazy. So, so if we could look into doing that, that'd be great. And I do really, if there's, I get that some people might want to try to book the high school stadium every weekend for the next 6 months, but if we can open a Saturday up to the public, I'd like to be able to do whatever we can. So, okay.
Well, I'll tell you right now that band
Yeah,
has it locked down.
I know. We need to figure out
And
what that means.
Quite frankly, this committee has talked about these
Yes.
blanking it out 8,
Nope.
10-hour blocks of time,
Forever.
for extended
For no
periods of
reason.
time.
We need to.
That's
There
why he
needs
needs
to
a
be.
3-month
I
schedule.
have asked for the schedule for the high school marching band for the next 3 months. I've also asked for the schedule for the football teams for the next 3 months, including the Junior Mustangs and Mountain House. Because, like I say, we had another school who tried to block out all of everything to avoid this hassle, and we can't have that in this community. So, when I got a couple more months on the board. I'll
Are we talking about the
9 to
soccer
7
thing?
every Saturday.
9 to 7 every Saturday from August 27th
Yeah, see,
22nd.
Okay, we'll need to see a schedule for that.
are we talking about the soccer Is
Well,
that on the agenda?
It's a permit. She
Denied
has the
permit?
permit where
I
they
see it?
requested it.
Well, I can tell you that so far, the band has been out there every Saturday from 9 to 7 practicing because I have a band member who's out there every
And
Saturday.
it could be legitimate. If it's legitimate, if they're going to be out there 8 hours practicing, or actually, that's going to
Why
be
they're
honest,
as good
that's
as they
10
are.
hours practicing. Then they're going to be out there 10 hours practicing every Saturday.
You can, wow.
I couldn't hear them last Saturday because I could hear the football.
I can hear everything from my house pretty much. Yeah.
So I just want to see a schedule that it's being used and what it's being used for. And if it's school usage, it's school usage.
Yeah.
But again, if we have staff on site Saturday at 6:30, and we could open on Saturday from 6:30 to 8:30, again, I think for most of the running part of the community, that would be
Yeah, like the early morning intervals are probably
a
ideal
great
for most runners.
option for them. And again, the late night, most of them won't run late night anyway. And if they do, it's well after dark when we wouldn't be open. So it really is just a dawn to
Mornings are
whenever we
probably
can.
ideal if you're trying to find a time for runners to run.
So-
I have something else on this though. Your question about football field for stadium, are they the same price in the system?
I don't know.
Remember the rates.
Because someone could be booking football field because it's cheaper than booking
Now,
stadium,
repeat
even
the
though we
question
mean for them
again?
to be the same.
It's stadium and the track are all one fee.
Right, but
But we have,
football
there's a football field, and someone's clearly booking something called
The fee
football
for the
field.
football
Probably for the elementaries, if it's outdoors, it's the $5.
That'd be the soccer field, though.
Then that would not be a football field. We need to,
a
that's
soccer
why we
field.
need to get,
Yeah, I think
the-
we'll review those.
I'll look at the
I'm
invoices for,
just curious, yeah.
Anyway, there should,
well, most of the people that block down the stadium is the high school team. They block out the football stadium.
Well, no, it's fine. I don't mind the block. I'm just saying, like, if you guys are saying, like, the Mustangs, for example, go on and they just book the football field because for whatever reason, instead of booking the stadium. But in our minds, it's effectively the exact same thing, right? If you book the high school football field, you're booking the high school stadium, right? But it's possible that in the system, we put the football field in at $5 an hour and the stadium in at $20 an hour.
right. So we just need to look at,
That's all I'm
think we
saying.
might
So
have
what I'll do is I'll check the invoice that we send them for their practice,
Yeah,
when
just
they
see if they're the
practice,
same
which would be the
price,
field,
right?
and then we'll look at when they play on a Saturday, which would be obviously the stadium.
because
And
it could be
kinda-
they call Altamont's field the football field.
Well, so we can check-
That's the
we can check
case.
that.
and
We need to relabel that as the same thing as the other schools, a school field. You know, Altamont A or whatever we're gonna call
We
it.
talked about doing that too.
Yeah, we've needed to label that so we have a consistent,
and it would probably be good to just put a site
That's
designation,
what I was thinking, is add
Right,
it,
each
because I
of
think we
these.
can put it right next to it.
A for Altamont, B for
So the
Bethany,
list
that
will
sort
be
of
longer,
thing.
but
It's gonna
that's
be, it's
okay.
gonna be a much larger report then, but yeah.
but that's, it'd be better to do that because then we also need to be looking at, like, Wickland is again having gopher problems. If we need to find other resources to do that, we can be looking at it from here and
I
try to
like that
figure it
idea.
out.
But we should probably look at every single site and make sure what
what we're-
matches
Exactly right.
in civic permits matches what is actually at the
right.
site. And like Wickland, for example, you could break it up into several different
Right.
areas.
And we had
on the
talked about
campus.
doing that previously, and I'd like to try to
That's
get that
normally
done.
how you set that up when you get civic permits. That's set up that way, and it may or may not be set up
So I'd
correctly.
like to,
I
I'd
don't
like to
know.
try to get that done before our next committee meeting, so we can try to have,
I feel like we split up Wickland actually a little. We talked about splitting up Wickland
We did
into
into
at least
three.
2 sections, or was it 3?
because I
wanna say
thought
it
we
was
did,
two.
We even had
we
seven.
did.
I want to say we split it
did
at the trees, I think, honestly.
Split it at the trees.
That was it, though. The other one doesn't, it's just a small.
And
the
you're
other
right,
one's-
because
yeah,
there's no real
meh.
natural barrier
We
there.
just split
So
the
it
tree, I
was
think.
the double soccer fields and then the one soccer field that's inside the trees on the backside, so.
So we split that.
So,
up.
yeah, so
We discussed splitting up.
There was a natural line with those trees there, so if we could get that done for the next committee, so we can have, because again, too, we were there, we had a game there on Saturday with my son, and I was there tonight for practice in Wickland's. I mean, there's holes everywhere, they're just everywhere, so,
Wickland again,
yeah.
do you hear that?
And there's nothing you can do about it, we're just gonna have to try and keep an eye on it, and,
Well, we actually paid 2 companies to deal with gophers at Wickland.
I know, so,
Apparently,
it's not for lack of effort,
apparently neither one.
these gophers are just tenacious, so. We do.
We're gonna try and get Bill Murray out here to
Murray
take
out
care of
here.
some gopher.
Blow up a couple of things. I'm all for explosions anyway. So. All righty. So, anything else on the usage report? Nope. Okay. Denied applications. Color Splash.
We had a tier 3 that was denied by the site, and I actually I kind of agreed with it. A art company performing art wanted to use our art classroom, and there's no way in our art classroom we can protect our materials that are
Supplies.
very easily accessible on the shelves. So I haven't heard
Did you offer
anything
them
back.
another
They
classroom?
didn't- I don't know if they offered them another class. They didn't reapply. I
Didn't
mean,
ask for one? Okay.
and then the other was the one about the baseball field at the high school because we didn't allow access yet.
Okay, so who was this baseball club?
It's a varsity baseball coach.
It's a varsity baseball coach, but not the varsity team.
Well, they can't call it the varsity team because it's not
is it-
in season.
Is it
They-
the same
Just
thing we're
like the
doing with
AAU
the
thing?
AAU with the basketball?
Yeah, they call it like a, whatever you want to
Was
call it.
this denied
AAU.
by the site?
It was
was denied at
because
the site
that's
level,
what he mentioned, because we do not allow use of the baseball field, and it's a tier 2B.
That's not why it was
Okay.
denied, but
The next board meeting is not by the 21st. It is the 21st.
it is the 21st.
I thought he was gonna be present tonight.
Would they
asked
pay for
them
this
to
time if we
come.
agreed to let them use it?
They're tier 2B, they'd have to.
They pay as the tier 2B. Did the AAU team for the summer basketball also pay the same price, or do we let
I
that slide?
thought we gave them a dispensation.
I don't know. I'm asking.
Oh,
That's one.
Second page has the rejection notice on it.
I feel like
They're only talking about 2 hours, 2 days a week.
I mean, if this is basically practice,
we can make an individual exception without changing the the policy.
That's true. That's why we thought he would come tonight, so we can,
This is the varsity baseball coach.
Baseball coach.
I think it's Stephen Gatehouse.
It is, it's Stephen Gatehouse.
Surprised he didn't come unless he had,
That's what I was hoping that they would.
maybe he had some other commitment or something.
Have youth caps, I'm trying to get approved as fundraisers for the baseball program, and if we can use the field, we aren't gonna be able to raise money for that either.
Wait, what's wrong? He's not gonna be able to raise money if we don't let him use the field?
I don't know. The email, unfortunately, the email doesn't explain what he wants to use it for or
I'm
why.
a huge fan of ultimatums.
And so I don't know if it
Well,
is the
you
high
can drop
school
one on
team,
all of
if it's
Woodland.
not the high school team.
Well, I talked to him, and my understanding, it is the high school players. It's a fall league for the high school team.
So, I mean,
So very similar to the basketball situation with the age.
Yeah, I mean, most high school baseball programs, they run a summer league, they run a fall league, and then they have baseball in the spring. So that's, from my experience, that's what they do. So
my only reservation with approving this is that they're a tier 2B by our definition, which means they're, what is that, a for-profit or something, right? And if we make an exception to allow them to use the baseball field, but we wouldn't make the same exception for our local nonprofit, the softball field, to use the softball field, I feel like that's really unfair. You could use the argument, of course, that it's the varsity team, but by the same notion, the softball team, I think, probably has some people that either play now or will play in the future, so there's still a tie there as well.
And that's my only concern with trying to approve this right now is exactly that. I think we need to get.
I mean, I'd rather just let them both use it,
So
honestly.
here's the thing. I don't know that we can't necessarily make that recommendation to the full board. Because it's in the handbook, you can let me know if I'm wrong here, because it's in the handbook and we don't have it on here that we're gonna change it. We're not technically a Brown Act committee. We're not required, I think, to provide notice. So if we feel we wanna change it, we could discuss it. My only concern with doing that is we're not giving Jimmy, Ben, or any of the other organizations an opportunity to know that we're talking about it tonight.
Which I think might be a concern, except that the varsity baseball coach is the one who's requesting the time. So I'm just going to make a jump in assumption that probably the school would say yes.
School
Just
denied it.
just
The school denied it. It wouldn't
no,
be
the school had to deny it though because you
Right.
can't allow it. That's a different thing. If we say you can allow it, I'm saying I think they probably would have. Same thing happened with basketball.
that's not the reason it was denied. It was denied, they were told it was because of the construction and field maintenance. That's when he contacted me and asked what kind of field maintenance, and I didn't know. Obviously, I know the construction, but I didn't know what we had no field maintenance plan. So
Field maintenance is probably just you can't reserve it because it's
So-
new plan probably.
All right,
I don't know what we can do. I'd probably recommend we let them use it, and I'd recommend we let softball use it if softball wants to use it. But
I'm gonna recommend we do that. Jimmy, as the director of maintenance, are there maintenance issues with those fields?
they're getting too much water, but no, there's no, there's no maintenance
Some
issues.
not enough.
we
and some
should
too much.
definitely, if we're going to put something out for this and send the people an information, we should definitely include that caveat though about the restrooms, that there are no restrooms nearby.
But here's my thing is, I don't think we can make this change. We can make a recommendation to the board to make this change. Because it's a little bit more than just changing the handbook, I think.
What does the handbook say?
It's not open at all.
It just says you cannot reserve this space.
That's basically what it says.
Right, added the high school.
in
Well,
here
and I know it's on the initial civic permits list. Let's see.
And that's my only worry is that, well, technically, my understanding is we're allowed to recommend changes to the handbook, and if the board doesn't like it, they can reject it, right? So,
But do we want to make a change to the handbook, or do we want to make an exception to the handbook?
if we're gonna make but the whole thing is, I'm with Corey. If we're gonna make an exception for a tier 2B organization that we don't have any confirmation right now is fully just our kids like the AAU, I'm not comfortable not letting softball. And even if we did make that exception, then we need to talk about, the only exception we made for the basketball team was not charging them. If they would have to compete with the Wolverines or any other basketball group that was going to be using those facilities too and had to get in based on their tier status. I don't see how we can tell our baseball team, whether it is our baseball team that's not during the season, or a partial portion of our baseball team, and then tell the softball team, the girls softball team, no.
Has the girls softball team applied and been denied?
No.
Well, then,
We
that's-
told him,
that's-
Remember with that?
told him he couldn't do it. Told him he was here. We told him he couldn't have it.
well, my recommendation would be that we recommend to the board making an exception for this with the understanding that Mr. Gatehouse or whoever can come and pitch to the full board what he wants to do and why he wants to do it and how he wants to do it, and the full board can make a decision on that. And at that point, if Mr. Martins wants to make an application for the softball, we can do the same thing. Either they can come here and we can listen to their pitch and make a recommendation to the board, or they can, and
The concern I've got with that, and this is just the heads up for that, softball's in season now, and we told him before he couldn't have it. So he made all of his plans and arrangements without having that access.
Right. His actual goal right now is not even to get it right now. I'm not even sure he would take it.
I don't even know if he could do anything with it because their season's
right.
getting close to over. By
What-
now, so
What he would want is knowing that we are opening it up so he could use it for the fall team or whatever it is. His next little traveling-ish season.
what if
I think
we-
is probably what he's more interested in at this point. That's what he's asking me about usually, is not can I get it next week, more like can I get it in several months.
what if we make a recommendation to the full board that we give an exception to the baseball team, and we put on our next agenda to modify the
Handbook.
handbook to include access to the baseball and softball field to the general public based on the same rules we use for the stadiums and the other fields. That would allow all the participants who have an interest to come and have their say, to have a say, and allow our baseball coach an opportunity. It is, I'm serious, it is a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours between September 21st and November 16th. I can't foresee that as a maintenance issue, Jimmy.
No.
I can't see it as an issue that the school would have a problem with. And for 1 hour from 4 to 5, I can't see it as a restroom or parking issue really either.
Totally fine. Yeah,
So
I'm totally fine.
I agree. I think we should,
anyway, we can make the exception, assuming that we would waive the fees as we did the AAU basketball. For opening it up to the public, we're gonna have to go through the discussion of what do we charge, how do we,
I
you
think
know,
we have fees set up, don't we? For the baseball and the softball field?
I don't think we do, well, unless it's the $5 fees that we're charging.
No, it'll
for
have to be
elementary
different for the
sites.
baseball
So we
field.
have-
No way.
We have to establish
Okay.
a fee.
All right, well, that can all be part of, if we're gonna amend the
Right.
handbook, what it would be. So you need to come with, give us some samples of what other folks are charging for their fields.
Okay.
And again, it's not a guarantee that it'll happen, because if the
Right.
school
I-
comes,
I'll tell you right now, I'll say it for the official record here, that another district I've been in, the varsity baseball and softball fields have been completely locked down, no access to the public. But like we talked about earlier, Mountain House is different. There's only one high school, and there's actually only one of each field at the school. So it's a little bit different scenario than a lot of districts have. There is no JV field per se. So it is a
it
unique
is open to most
situation.
public, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to.
and I think that's something that we have to be cognizant is going to come up in the conversation, is that the high school is probably gonna say, wait a minute, that's our only field
Exactly.
that we're talking about, and we're going to open them up, so, you know, we just have to listen to everything and
Make a decision.
make a decision based on everything.
And I would be very worried about opening it up wide open to the general public just for the condition of the field. So
And I might recommend that we, in the future, if we open it up at all to anything that's non-school, is that we do it on a case-by-case basis rather than just opening it wide open.
I'm inclined to lean that direction too, but like I said, I think we need to hear from folks to try to figure out. But I do agree, it's not the same thing as a track that people are gonna run around on. If we open it up to the general public, it becomes a pet playground, period. That's just
That's
what
we
it'll
have
become.
problems at
It'll become a dog park. That's what Altamont is, and we can't allow that.
right.
So, I'm thinking more of a function of a team reserves it, it's locked, it's unlocked when they reserve it, just like an indoor facility would be, just like the stadium would be. It's locked until it's reserved, then it's unlocked, and then it's locked and checked after.
And just so the committee knows, I do have plans to fence off the softball field sometime this year.
need to.
Whether they're moving the black fencing south part of the high school, we're saving the material, we're gonna reuse that, fence off the high school, so.
Which is another thing that we need to figure into any potential fees, would be the fact that it does have to be opened and closed after, not just
The
like.
same 2-hour thing.
Right.
We would have to look at all those things. So for the first part, granting a exception to the AAU baseball team. Anyone have a problem with that?
No.
You mean recommending granting an exception?
Yes.
But still charging them some sort of fee? Because we
Well,
have
they're
to have
tier.
it open and closed,
Yes, we
and
have
it's
to.
not easy
We have to
access.
charge them the normal fees we would charge for a groundskeeper to open and close it, because they would have to make a trip out there to open and close it, just like we would a
Did-
gym.
Did we do that for the AAU basketball, or did we waive the fees?
I believe we did, because the coach tried to say, I can use my keys, and we said, no, you cannot.
Yeah, I remember
That's
that.
not the point. So he may have keys, but he's not allowed to do that. So,
Well, I'm fine with charging fees if that's what we did for the basketball. If it's not what we
Needs to
did
be
for the
consistent.
basketball, then we
Yeah.
need to look at that as well.
so in that exception, we'll have to look at what we did for the basketball for the AAU team and figure it out.
Okay.
And then make a recommendation to the full board that they grant it. And then next agenda will have proposed revision to the handbook with relation to the softball and baseball field.
Okay.
And again, please to let Mr. Maine and Mr. Martins know, along with Ben and Lavinia. And Jimmy, who knows? Anyone
Yeah,
else
don't
got
forget
anything else on that? No? All righty. Unapproved use notifications, none.
Didn't have any.
Change in steer status, none. Civic permits, update. We just talked about that a little
Yeah,
bit.
we
So
did.
if I need to have another meeting with that guy, not that I helped out all that much last time, but
He
I can be a
surprised
bigger
us one
jerk.
day. He just showed up here and we're like, oh, good to see you. We do have questions. So
There you are.
it was kind of a nice surprise. And so we did get some updates.
Could you just let me know once the reports are available, like shoot me a copy of the
Yes.
reports once you get the tiers added in and the breakdowns, and find out about the football stuff too. I'd like to try to.
So
roll that.
we wanted to go ahead and move forward separating the 1A group, which
Yes.
is foundation. So that would be an amendment to our handbook.
No, because it doesn't, if you just designate them as that, they don't need to be separated in the handbook, because that's really just about fees and stuff.
Okay.
You know, we're not charging them any differently.
Actually, they are separated in the handbook, aren't they?
No,
One and-
only if they have a high-risk event.
Right.
Do the school foundations get moved from a 1 to a 2A?
Right. There's still a one.
But
There's been,
They're still considered a 1 unless they do have a high-risk event.
Yeah.
But if the foundations want to use a kitchen, for instance, they're charged. It's
They are
not.
charged because we have food service and they're cooking, and so it becomes a high-risk activity.
But even just opening the kitchen up to wash dishes or serve out of or whatever, they're charged. So it's
Yeah.
got to be a different thing than
Might be
school
easier.
usage.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. It's starting to look faded.
I
the
was
copy.
trying to find the handbook. So. Okay, what's next? Reimbursement organization, credit, Kumigang, 2 hours.
Now,
What
we had a
happened?
fallout of communication with the custodian. There was no custodian.
Give me that, Jimmy.
Oh, sorry.
There was no custodian available?
I got a hold of him, but of course they came late, and so we just provided them a credit for the inconvenience. It was over at Altamont.
Yeah.
Okay.
They also found that their participation levels dropped, and so they discontinued
to
some
enter
days and
one.
freed up the calendar.
So, none whatsoever, unless high-risk activity. So, if we just, like I say, I don't think there's any reason
Which would include kitchen.
to separate it at all.
Okay. All right.
Public comment.
I have a public comment.
Oh,
You don't even have to wait for public comment. You can do
I know. I just figured I would.
Cory report.
I was just going to suggest. I know that you'd mentioned the track use and the optics of the track use going away, and a lot of people are relating that to the theater and the pool potential usages. I'm suggesting that maybe we plan ahead to try and discuss the usage of the pool and the theater prior to them having actually been built. If we can sort of try to think ahead and
I love that
get
idea.
input ahead of time. You know, it's probably a little hard to do because I'm not sure what the school's going to do with it. But if we can talk about it before it actually
I
becomes
absolutely
reality,
agree
that
with
might
you,
help.
at least to set up. But here's what I would tell you, that there was a committee of members of the governing board meeting with the community services district to try to set up a true joint use plan with the community for the pool, because it's important for people to understand we cannot staff the pool during non-school hours to admit the public. and we can't just open the gates and let the public in. So we actually had a committee of CSD board members and LUSD board members talking about a plan for how to get this all done. The two members of the CSD portion of that committee are no longer on the CSD board. So Dr. Nicholas is in the process of contacting the Community Services District to reinstitute those committee meetings.
Okay.
So that we can, because that's going to be the trick for the pool. Theater's, I think, a little bit different. The trick for pool is going to be, it has to be staffed and manned, not by school district employees. And that would have to be public. We can't even hire people to do that. That's a misuse of public funds. They have to be employed by an outside entity that is not paid for 1 cent from school resources.
Well,
so it has to come from the
or
community.
at a minimum, it's a revenue neutral situation.
We
for the
can't even,
district.
but we can't even, my understanding of it, and we're going to have to get legal to chime in on that, is we can't even offer to staff it and get reimbursed because that is paying from school district funds for a non-school related event.
Seems to me that would fall under the same thing as paying our janitors to work events that are rented and being reimbursed by.
Except that they can't have them until they've actually paid for it, whereas there's no promise from the CSD unless we have a guarantee of a payment. See, the difference there is we have a guarantee of a payment from Junior Mustangs. They have to give us a check before we get it. If it's the only way to be revenue neutral, like you're talking about, is the CSD has to pay us in advance what the employee's salary would be. And more importantly, I'm going to say this, I don't want it to be a school district employee, because then the liability is on the school district for anything that happens. And that's me as a school board member. We don't want that. The liability has to go to the city.
Well, I think it's something that has to be discussed at length to figure out all the angles, because I'm also somewhat reluctant to have non-school district employees on our facilities.
But it's not, it is how every other high school pool that opens to the public runs. The city runs it.
Well,
The city runs
You
the
let the community-
public admission, right?
Last district, we didn't let the community use the pool.
And that's, some school districts don't. This school district is not going to be able to do that.
Jimmy, I'm not sure anyone used anything at your last district.
No, you weren't even allowed to look at this. You couldn't even look at the schools. You just drive by, just look away.
by.
Look at them.
Your kid can't even come in
Avert your-
class.
Avert your gaze.
I will tell you right now that both high schools last district had 10 feet tall fences, and they had razor wire at the top of the fences. There was no way to get in
Better
there.
not be putting razor wire
I'm
around
just saying.
this pool.
unless, of
So
course,
they were
the
super
graffiti
inviting.
continues, and
Right.
then
I mean, I'm
No,
just saying.
I don't want to live in the community that needs razor wire. I just don't. I realize that might make me elitist, but
I'm just saying. I said this community before. It's very generous of the district to open up their facilities for running and eventually the pool and that kind of stuff. Because other districts, don't do that.
I'm going to ask that we contact the Pleasanton Unified School District to find out about how they handle the Amador Valley Theater.
Okay.
It is open to the public. It is regularly used by the public, and I kind of equate what we're trying to do here with what they do there. Ben may be able to, Mr. Faubert may be able to give you some insight there because it was on his former campus. So, but I agree with you. We need to have what we're thinking about letting them use. We want to hear from our theater department, what they want, what their concerns are, what their plans are. Not that the first day the doors open, the public can use it, but much like the football field, are there concerns? Do we need to give it 6 months? Hear from Jimmy on those kinds of things.
Gotta let the water seed.
Right. I don't know. You gotta let the hydro seed set.
well, I'm certain at a minimum we need to let the
Chemicals?
district and the school, the high school employees figure out how everything works,
Right.
and how to do things and all that stuff. And we may be looking at the first year after the facilities, much like we did the high school when it was.
I see you're looking for a mutiny.
Well, I like I say, I think my perspective, I don't think we closed all of the indoor high school facilities the first year.
I think there was a few
But
classrooms.
so it is a function of something this committee will need to talk about in whatever format
All I'm
it
saying
takes.
is if we come out and we say that you can't use the pool for the first year it's available, it's not going to be very
Well, the
pretty.
pool, I think the pool is different from the theater.
I agree with probably not using it immediately and giving it a month or something like that to sort of make sure that everything works before you
Right.
piling in with a bunch of public people and stuff like that. Like
Well,
I get that.
and-
I'm just thinking like a year.
I like I say, I'm in full agreement with those things. I think we need to be at least proactive and start looking at what some other entities are doing and start making plans with those things. So
Okay.
I
We
heartily
can set
agree.
rates too as well for the theater.
Exactly
stuff
right.
like that,
Start
yeah.
talking about rates, and that's why if we can get the Amador Theater one, it's a little bit bigger than the one I think we're planning, but at least it can give us an idea of what's going on. And again, they do it, so they're a model we can look to for what their concerns are. Again, our principal was a vice principal there, so he may understand what some of the things that worked and didn't work were. So we should be able to get some good input on that and have that on a future agenda here. I would prefer that be on. I'm going to suggest we start that discussion in December.
Okay.
Thank you.
But behind
convenient,
the scenes, we'll be gathering information for that meeting in December, right? So
Yeah, that gives you guys 2 months to gather the information, the you know, the documents that you need, that kind of stuff. I could still be on the committee as a community member,
Yes.
maybe.
It's entirely possible Shane and I could swap seats.
It is. It is. It absolutely is. So, but I do. I fully agree with Corey. We need to get ahead of that because, and again, the theater. I could foresee a longer delay for the theater. They're going to want the pool next summer.
oh,
The
yeah.
community is going to want to
that's
get
what
into
I'm
the
saying.
pool next summer. And that's what I'm saying. And if it's done, we need to see if we can do it and pull it off. So
And
I
but
realize that puts a lot of
I
pressure on
would
this
still
group.
caution making the assumed promise of next summer when we don't know when it's going to be finished.
I'm just saying, the day after it finishes, the community is going to want to jump in the pool.
Yes,
Okay,
they
so
are.
we need to be prepared for whatever that date
Be
is.
prepared to tell them no, we're going to let it sit for a couple of weeks before you can jump in it. What we don't want to have to tell them is no, we're not going to let you use it for an entire year.
And one impediment to that is going to be where the discussions with the CSD go, because we've got to have something in place.
We're just going to hope that that gets done in the next year because otherwise it's ridiculous.
And like I said, we are supposed to be having those conversations. We talked to Kirk about it at.
I'd call them, but none of them. know me.
I talked to Kirk about it after our last meeting, our board meeting,
Yeah, it's just,
just to say we need to reinstitute.
I just want to jump out ahead of it, that's all.
No, I totally agree. Anything else from the public or from the committee? No.
all I had.
All right, finance report. How we doing money wise?
Ryan, we're doing okay.
Ooh, money.
Here we go. I have it as page 9.
Page 9 of 19.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
I don't know if we have any recommendations from any of the school sites that would need their facilities upgraded with some of these monies. I don't think I heard anything. The projects that we heard of didn't touch base on any of these things at this time.
Okay.
Can we use these sort of funds for stuff like microphones for the
We already
stage?
did that. We just, because we were hearing, and I understand, either the microphone would go missing maybe, or wasn't working properly, so we actually bought specifically materials for use for the facility users.
Oh, no, I mean, the microphones are fine at Wicklow. I mean, like for the stage, like, I think that part of the art budget for this year, for example, is going to go towards buying like actual stage mics, for example. That's not something that these sort of funds are intended for. It's more of a repair/maintenance thing.
Right.
Is that right? Not like an enhancement thing.
Right.
All right, so I have a question.
Yes.
And this goes back to our discussion of the stadium, track, football field, whatever it might be. It seems mathematically impossible to have rented the football field, stadium, whatever, for nearly 300 hours and have total revenue for 3 months of $272.
Yeah, I agree.
In fact, I would say that it seems impossible to have rented the football field for over 30 hours and still only have
That's very true.
$272. So,
Check with Janelle.
you could let me know where we're at on that?
That's a good catch.
What's DEF revenue and deferred revenue?
That's the money that she hasn't put into the bank, but it is part of the total.
But it's not from this, it's from prior to July 1st, right? It's deferred from the previous year.
Oh. Why is she doing it that way? I'm wondering
is
if
it
those
just
should be
not-
combined.
Well, and it could be, but then,
Not,
Yeah.
or is it like receivables?
then it should be receivables.
It is, yes, money she hasn't put in yet.
Received, but it's an online payment that
So she has technically received about $1,200.
So she's received over $1,300 for the football stadium.
what it looks like.
Still a little bit low for 280 hours, but that would make, but it also doesn't make sense for 30 hours.
Okay.
This is also from July. This is basically saying we have
July 1 through September.
Yeah.
three full months, and we made this many. This
I'll
much?
check, because this
Is
is
that
a
all
manual
matching up?
entry form that she plugs in.
And what I would
3 months,
like
yeah.
is
And our reports back
the
here are 1 month,
usage
right?
report and the revenue reports need to match.
2 months and
Okay,
9 days.
if we're gonna give a
right?
report
Our
on
usage
usage for
report's
a
only 1
month,
month.
but revenues for 3 months, it doesn't give us anything to compare to.
Nobody's even thinking about
And
it.
then, like I say, and then not for not, we'd be able to go, hey, wait a minute, why is it that, Wickland has $2,500 in deferred revenue? What's going on? Why is it not being, it's been collected and just not received? I don't understand.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't-
we have
doesn't
this
seem like it
explained.
I
matches
will.
up.
And again, so clearly that must mean the football field is not the high school football field. It has to be. Because it's $40 an hour,
Because
right?
that would be nice too, if we can see it also
Yes,
relate to the
and
same
that's-
way.
that's
this
the way it's
report-
supposed to.
yeah.
That's why I was looking here going, where's the football field? Where's the football? There is no
What we
football
have
field.
is we have person A and person B doing two completely different things.
Well, we just need to get rid of the football field
Person A,
as an
person
option.
B.
Okay?
Okay.
So,
Assuming that refers to the football field at the high school in the stadium.
Yes.
yes. But to go back to what the intent of this report is, which is to show that we have total collected revenue of $13,000 so far this school year, which is July 1st through now, and a total carryover of $60,000 and we're able to use this for the total of 74 down here for deferred maintenance on all of these facilities plus other things related to the facilities. So,
Okay.
do we have any plans? So we have carryovers. What do we know? What revenue
Well,
pools
I
those
know
are
that
in?
Jimmy and I have been working on a 5-year maintenance plan.
Your numbers are way down.
And so obviously we can kind of take a look at the balances in here and maybe some of these projects can be done.
Well, and I'd like to see
have to
what those
see.
are. I mean, the whole point of charging for the football field, what we were charging for the football field was to help offset the exponentially higher cost for replacement.
You need about $500,000
Right.
in the next 8 to 10 years,
It's more
roughly,
than that.
No, he's talking,
to,
there's
re-
football
to,
field
to
and
replace the
track.
turf.
He's just talking turf.
Oh,
We
okay.
were talking $1 million for turf and track.
Right.
It was 500 basically for each.
Yeah, so
So, and I'd like to have a running
$272 in 3 months isn't really going to get that done. So.
But, but the idea was not to have the community pay for that whole amount, just if we were doing
A
X number,
portion.
amount of our own usage and we're exceeding that by helping to offset the cost, it'd be nice to know how much we have. So to have if we have carryover, it'd be nice to know what the carryover is for every facility.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yes, I agree. That's easy to get.
Any more questions on that report? Staff hours report.
That one is a comparison from year to year, but we never had gathered any data from the school sites about how much time that they may have been spending. I don't think they were spending as much time before as they're probably spending a little bit more
Oh,
now.
I'm sure. But that was the plan all along.
Right. So my time has shifted much more to Jimmy, because I used to approve all of the permits that were being
Right.
submitted. He's taking care of all of that now. The largest role that I'm playing is with the agenda, reviewing the handbook,
Right.
making revisions to the handbook, attending these meetings. And I
But
kind of
still-
I put those roles here.
Those total staff hours have reduced at the district level,
Mm-hmm.
which is the point of this. We wanted it pushed onto the local schools for them to have local control and them to help ease the burden for the
And
community.
I'll
for the
try to
staff.
touch
So
base with them more and more. Hey, how much time do you think you're spending, so I can start collecting data
we need
on
that. We need that. Questions about that report?
I think it is awesome that we're using less hours.
Yes.
agree.
I feel it. I so feel it. Thank you, Jimmy.
And again, and it's,
He actually, if you look at his percentages, because he's taken the bulk of what I was doing
Right,
now.
his has gone up.
You're down to like 0.03.
know.
And then the majority of the work is done at the site.
I think that .03 is a little high, actually.
Hey,
she does have to deal with
do
me
you
on a regular
type, do
basis.
you type the agendas and review the
Why are
minutes?
you typing the agenda?
I think it just includes
Does a
this meeting.
draft, Then I review it, and the minutes, she does a draft, and then I edit it, and then she puts the packet together.
That's awesome though.
We had been getting out of this meeting really early. We're going a little long tonight, so more than likely next month will be .04.
Yeah, you'll be
Right.
at 0.04.
You're
That's
right.
right. Could poking
She does
fun
have,
at me.
she does have to deal with me on a regular basis for a
That's all
while
right, I
still,
don't
so.
mind.
All righty, so high school baseball, softball fields, we've talked about. Application window for usage after December 1st.
First.
Go.
Okay, so I have, although it's later in the report, maybe I kind of did that backwards. We had ensured that all the sites had entered all of their dates up through December 1st. So when we did our site visits, we made sure to say to them, hey, we're gonna be opening it up pretty soon for the remainder of the school year. Make sure you've got all your dates in the system. But I thought we had a date, a window we do not. So my recommendation would be obviously in November, maybe using the November 15th through the 30th date.
Too soon, too late, think about it, if you put in an application on November 30th for use December 1st,
Yeah,
it has to be October.
What about
because we told them they have to do it 2 weeks in advance.
what about the 1st through the 15th of November?
November 1st?
Does that, gives you a couple weeks till December? No?
What is the deadline we have for,
It's the 1st through the 15th. No, it's not, because we have it open early. We just told them no use during the first week.
right,
So we did have it opened a lot earlier,
Right.
but we never really had a,
my thought process would be to at least give people a month to be told no. If we do October 15th through the 31st, we review all our permits, applications the 1st of November, start the 1st of December, that gives them 30 days to scramble. Plus, we could schedule a meeting for them to come in, because it provides them an opportunity. If you schedule a meeting the first week of December, then,
so October 1st through the 15th?
I know, and we could do it that soon, but then I worry that kind of puts the schools in a crunch for May. So giving them those extra 2 weeks, I think the last 2 weeks of October makes more sense.
Okay.
That's just me, though.
I can go for that.
Sounds reasonable.
Anybody
October 15th or the 30th.
think that's enough time? I mean, you're one of the planner types.
Well, Corey's group, they're not restricted.
Oh.
They can put in their dates whenever. We've
Oh,
been
I
encouraging
don't-
them, tier one, to put them all in now all the way through the end of the year, because be prepared, we're gonna be opening a window for that from December 1st on.
But so if you were to try to plan one of your other non-school related events, would a denial on November 1st for December 1st like be deadly?
No, I mean, you wouldn't plan the event at that point, probably. Realistically, with an event, at least you want to secure the space before you start the planning. So if we went on December 1st and we were like, we're gonna do this December 1st, and we tried to put it in for November 1st, and then we got denied, we just wouldn't do the event, and we try a few other dates. I mean,
Right. So
yeah, I wouldn't plan the event without an actual space already secured.
So do you think 6 weeks before is enough time?
It probably is. I think most of the foundations, at least from a foundation perspective, will have probably talked to their principal already and had the spot booked out. If not, they're probably doing it wrong.
So this will give the sites another 4 weeks
Right.
to
Yeah,
say,
you're-
hey, get those
it
dates
gives
in, we're
them-
opening the window.
Yeah.
And again,
I
not
know-
for not, they
though-
have to be booking, if they're booking the room for events or something like that, they have to be booking those things in advance, because,
And I'm comfortable to say that I don't think it's necessary at this time to allow more than one to happen on a date.
yeah.
I mean, we do that at the beginning of the year, and then we kind of make them negotiate, but at this point, I don't know that that's necessary.
Yeah, since it's site level now, I think most of the foundations are probably contacting the site rep at first.
As long
They
as-
are.
and
I know
those are
we're
the-
having a small issue, but I just need to talk to Gonzalez about it, but it's not a big deal.
Right, so
So
does
we'll
that
do
work
that.
for everybody then?
We'll send out a note to say, hey, we're gonna be opening up the window for outside organizations, October 15th through the 31st.
Yeah, I think that's probably ideal.
Okay,
Site visits.
so
Friday night,
Jimmy,
something like
Rita,
that.
and
October 20th.
I went to each of the sites. We visited all six sites to talk about the handbook, because we had shared that with them before, but some of the things that we might be seeing. Again, they weren't surprised that it was being switched over to the sites. We did express to them that getting their events, oh, I wish, do we have that in here, that calendar we created? There's one that you put in here? I don't think it's in here. Rita did this really beautiful flow chart that talks about the steps, and the first step being the district staff and the school site staff enter their events into the calendar, that was extremely important. That they obviously would check with their site personnel to see if they could cover the event. If not, they would reach out to Jimmy. Jimmy would secure any additional needs of custodial staff depending on the size of the event, and to ensure that they were making the custodians receive a lunch hour, because we found that they were working too many hours without a lunch hour, so we wanted to make sure that they staffed that appropriately. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think all sites were they were fine with the changes. Ben Faubert had a little bit of a concern of they finding their own custodial staff, and I said, that's initial, you reach out to your staff on site. You're welcome to call Jimmy if there's a problem, because he was concerned about it taking away from his leadership time for his site, securing custodial coverage. But I ensured him that isn't the intent. Reach out to Jimmy if there's a problem. And then he was fine with that. Anything you guys want to share on those meetings? Every site was fine with the change.
Yeah, I think
It's very positive.
Yeah, I feel like Wickland did an okay job. I think maybe Vicky might have shown Jasmine a few things, but I
Oh,
think
good. That was nice. And we always try to
most
make
part,
sure that they
everything
reach
seems
out
fine.
to Rita, because there's still a few out there that will try to include Lori in it.
I haven't met her yet either. Last time I was in, there was still the temp.
But I mean, so far, it seems like it's gone pretty good, but I think the October test will be interesting, making sure they get all their events in and then see how we do
Again.
with the new open process. So.
Okay. All right, this next one's really quick. Banners,
Yes, this was at my request.
and there's two parts to that, I guess. The existing policy, talking about the banners, and then, let's stick to that. Let's stick to banners.
We have a policy that the banners are uniform. The banners aren't uniform.
Does not appear to be the case.
And so we have two options. We recommend that we change the
AR,
policy,
yeah.
or, but let's remember, this is a board policy and not this committee's policy. So we can ask it to be changed, but it definitely has to go to the full board. Okay. My recommendation that is, we as a facilities committee send a report to the full board that says, hey, this isn't being done, that we as the facilities committee send something out to site staff and say, you need to be policing this. There are torn banners, there are banners that aren't the wrong size, and then to send a reminder out to all of the entities that are putting up banners saying, your banners need to be uniform, they need to be taken care of. If they're not,
But I think ours could stay.
I would like that we find out, and this is maybe a Kirk decision, to say, I'd like to give Jimmy's staff the discretion to take them down. There's a
think we kinda
banner
did
at
something like
Wickland that is completely torn apart and blown over and illegible.
That,
Why is it still there?
that's
And I don't
already,
mean you, this isn't your call to make, because you can't go taking banners down, they paid for advertising. So.
I believe
paid
that,
for it.
that's already part of the
That is the policy.
policy, is that if they are torn or not being,
So that would be,
maintained, to be affixed to the fence or whatever, that
can take 'em down.
they will be taken down. And I think we
That's-
should just do it.
and that's my recommendation, that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to unilaterally do that,
So
so
who
we're
would
here.
we have physically remove the signs? Would the principal direct the custodian?
I would imagine the site
Yeah,
custodian would.
that would be the way to do it. But again, I think,
This has come up before. I had Jimmy one time run around at all the school sites to check all the banners and to check the sizes, and we're also finding that they're not always four
that's what I'm
feet
saying,
by
they're
6
not
feet.
consistent at all.
Oh, they're 4x6?
Yeah, the 4x6 is the consistent.
You too.
I think I ordered 3x6. I think maybe one thing we might want to do is just, I know that we did the guarantee you have to be this size in order to assure that like they were some sort of weird uniform. But we could probably just give a couple of options for sizes too. But
Again, unfortunately, that's something this group can do.
we can recommend that we do this. Just assume that everything I'm saying is prefaced with, we can recommend that we do this.
I just want to make sure people understand that. I can't,
Page
it's because
15
it's
of
an AR.
19. Page 15 of 19 talks about that size.
Yeah,
Banner size shall be 4 feet by
I
6
remember it. I
feet.
just
mean,
always forget it.
it could be. I know, and I try to highlight it, and I have Rita. We highlight it 4 by 6.
No, you guys do great. I'm sure that was probably in the last banner thing I submitted.
Then I don't run to the site to make sure and measure them that they're 4 by 6.
Though I'm not even sure if I have to submit banner things if we're only putting them up at Wickland anymore for Wickland School Foundation stuff. So I think that just goes directly to Ryan, right? Ryan
Yes, it would go directly to Ryan.
Ryan has site administration
He
over
would
that.
have the
He can
authority
approve
to
the
approve
banner
it.
to put up whatever we want to put
But
up.
it's also about, to me, the size, if it's 3 by 6 and 4 by 6, if they're in good shape, I don't know, and again, this will be my discussion as a board member, I'll have to talk about that, but when they're tearing apart and no one's paying attention to them,
I think it'd be very difficult to disagree with your opinion that we should take down torn banners that are flapping around in the wind. I'd also probably put in a max size.
I agree.
We could do a minimum, maximum.
Minimum and maximum.
And that's what I'm going to ask, that we put this on the governing board's agenda to review, that this be the maximum.
I think a min-max probably is the way to go, I think.
Do we want it minimum? I mean, we don't probably want the little.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
8.5
like a
by
minimum
11.
maximum, probably, I don't know what size, like 2 foot.
3 by 5.
Why would you
to
want,
4 by
why would you
6
want a
or
3 by
something.
4? I mean, you're not, you're just
But you'd
not,
be surprised
you're going to want
what you'd
3 by
see.
6 or 4 by 6.
What would you say you saw out there on your run?
Most of them, there were a couple that were really, really big.
Yeah, there are a couple way bigger than 4x6. The
They
torn
make-
banner
they make
I'm
Mustangs
talking
have a
about at
couple of
Wickland
really
is like
big
6x8.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's huge.
Yeah, they're huge.
It covers the whole fence.
And,
Most of them were little, 4x6, 3x5-ish range. So
Yeah, I think that's standard,
And
3x5, 3x6, 4x6.
the policy does address that in that the superintendent or designee can approve
A larger
something that's
size.
bigger.
something that's different than,
It says bigger.
Yeah, larger.
So
So-
so we could always recommend that be the change that it be allowed, but still, I would like a message to site staff to say, please check your banners, notify people that if they're torn, they get taken down and get them taken down.
but I really think we should have a minimum and maximum, and anybody that wants bigger than the maximum,
Then we
and the
give them that
maximum should
size.
probably be 4x6, like 3x5 to 4x6 or something like that. And if anybody wants anything bigger, they have to get permission, because I don't want to see something wide open where we've got a bunch of 8x10 banners on all the fences.
Right, no, but I think if you did rather than 3x6, 4x6, you could do, a minimum square footage of 18 square feet. Because then if you wanted to do a 4x4 and it's more square and it's still in good shape as opposed to, so if you do a minimum square footage and a maximum square footage, and then
I think that's probably the easiest way to do it, I think.
I think the easiest way to do it, to recommend it to the full board to do it that way, and then, so,
The last banners that I had made, I had them made 4x6, but
Thank you.
they were
glad I
in
didn't hit you
the
with it.
opposite.
I did it at 6x4. Right? And you're like, how am I gonna do anything with that? So I just, but
So-
it's not just Wickland. Wickland is just the one that I saw on the way back in tonight, but I saw there's one at Bethany. Pretty much every site has at least one banner that doesn't belong up on the fence anymore.
And I think it's possible that the sites are not aware that they're the ones who should be looking at that.
It could be, but that's why if
But that's
we could
we'll
let
send
staff
out-
know.
I wonder if we should also have a fee or a fine if we have to send district employees out.
I thought that was in there too.
Is there?
Is it?
No? Okay, then we'll have to, I agree with you.
$25 or
$5 or something.
some amount, so that would encourage the entities, if they see that their banner is damaged, to remove it themselves rather than rely on us to, or the
Because this
district
is
to
your
remove
banners
it.
may be posted without charge for nonprofit organizations, but maybe we make a 12 that say a fee will be assessed for removal of banner. I'm just coming up with a draft right now.
Well, and again, remember, this is that'll have to, I don't know who does our ARs.
Not.
I don't know if Noel has to
I
do it.
can
or-
do them too. She has these each door.
I don't know
can
who
just
does
add-
them,
Do I just track changes?
Okay, cool.
So a fee will be assessed for removal of banner if not meeting
That violate this policy.
the,
That would
fee
be if
will
they're
be
too
assessed
big,
for-
that would be if they're too small,
yeah.
that would be if they're
they
Too torn.
violate.
too torn. Or too twos.
And this is actually an administrative regulation,
Yeah.
this
There's also
regulation.
an AR and a BP.
Yeah, and the BP, I was gonna have something added to our BP. Which is the
So
next.
we'll move on, because you've got that language that
Yep.
we recommend as a group, right?
Yes.
Yes?
So we'll read, a fee will be assessed for removal of banner if they violate this regulation.
Yep.
Oh, $25, right? Or what do we
That's,
wanna
well,
charge?
we can recommend whatever, but it doesn't matter. We just recommend a fee and the board can vote on whatever it
Okay.
wants.
Last one, right?
And then paid advertisements.
So I know we had been approached once by Tracy Ford. I haven't been approached directly, but I looked at the sample, CSBA sample, and compared it to our existing one. And on page 11 of 19, and I have the sample CSBA in the back, but when I looked at the difference between the two, on line item number 3 on page 11 of 19, paid advertisements on school property, including but not limited to billboard advertisements and scoreboards. So to add and scoreboards.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then the other change was on item 5, products and materials donated by commercial enterprises for educational use, including those that bear the name and/or logo of the donor. I'm trying to find that, sorry, I should have read it straight from
The BP or in the AR, because that's not the way the BP reads.
the BP. Yeah, it changed this a little bit. As long as they do not unduly promote the donor or any commercial activity or product. So I was just, it's just rewritten, but it's the same thing that we have on ours, it's just rewritten. And then the other,
This is the way the state gives it to us, by the way.
Yeah.
Unduly promote. I personally think it's ridiculous because it's like, okay, great, so do I have to cover
even
the
know what it
Nike on
means,
the
but okay.
football? I mean, really, is that what you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about? That I need to cover the Nike on the football or the Wilson on the baseball? And what is it that you're talking about? What unduly promotes?
They're literally buying this advertising space so they can promote. I'm not sure what unduly doing that means,
I-
but hey,
you-
whatever.
That's, they're donating it for the purpose of
That's why
advertising.
they're doing it.
Well, they're not unduly promoting, they are duly promoting.
I saw
boy.
something in there that makes me think of, you give them something and then they have to pay for it, or rent it after a certain time, or that sort of thing, where it's promoting a business transaction
Exactly.
rather than just, here, this is yours.
Right, but but that's the kinds of things that talks about here, either promoting political interest, promoting a business transaction. Those kinds of things aren't permitted anyway, so I'm not sure. Well, I would just recommend we let the governing board deal with this.
well, what I'll do is I'll track changes, make those changes. The other one was on number 4, paid advertisements, and school-sponsored publications, yearbooks, announcements, and other school communications. CSBA's policy includes including websites and social media. I don't know if we want to add that or just, that's something.
I don't see this one at all.
Page 11 of
18.
19, and then page 18 of 19, I was comparing the two.
I'm not sure if any of our people are selling.
No, so I'm
advertisements on
thinking
their
just
social
leave
media
that
sites
off.
At this point, but
So I didn't add, wasn't writing that on my notes. I wasn't gonna
Well,
track to add
if-
that change.
I wish we had enough audience to warrant selling advertisement on our social medias, but I don't think we do yet.
Or websites for that matter, yeah.
But if we leave it in there, we're covered should the need arise.
If we're gonna change
add it in there,
we should just
right?
change it. Like,
Okay.
there's no, is there a reason to not add that in there?
No, not that, other than, like you said, they don't do it, but
'cause it's all
why
one day, it's
take it
better
out
just
if
fit it all
it
one
could
in
happen
or
one
whatever.
day?
Yeah.
Cover your bases.
Because we didn't have it. And then, let's see here. I wanted to let you know that obviously since Tracy Ford, had come
Approached
forward
us.
to Ben, I'm tired.
It's only 7:45,
I know,
what's your
it's
problem?
only 7:45. I received a sample off of another district site, and I was thinking if all goes well, this is approved. If someone does, again, come forward wanting to do an advertisement, I can send the sample to our attorney. It's an, MOU.
I'm gonna say this right now, call Tracy Ford back.
Okay.
If they wanted to, now that we have a policy that allows them to,
So I'll
maybe
go
they don't
ahead and,
realize we're allowing them to now.
Who gets the money?
it'll come to the district.
What do you do with it?
It'll go into an account. I mean, I guess then we can decide what to do with it.
But does it go to the boosters because it's part of the track? Does it go to boosters and to VAPA because the marching band
Those
uses
are
the
all
They
things
track?
get
that-
to choose because he's principal of the high school. Does
I-
it just go into generic fund at the district?
That's something that will
just-
have to
I'm
be
just
decided.
curious.
Yeah, and that is a discussion. It should be in the board policy where the funds go.
Okay.
So we need to add that.
I mean, for that matter, we could theoretically talk about,
The
having
funds go to Shane Nielsen.
Right, we could talk about funding Shane Nielsen, certainly.
Going away party.
Yes, my going away party. Oh no, there'll be no shortage of funds for that. Everybody's like, get him out of here.
We can associate different locations advertising wise with different funds. Like once we get a theater, for example, if you
Right.
want to advertise
And
at
that's
the
why
theater,
I'm
that could
saying
go towards some sort of art program. We
To
could
have an
associate
idea
it that
of
way.
how
But
this is gonna happen.
I think, if the advertisement's on the stadium, for example, then
So
you're
do
going to
you
end up with
think
a
this-
discussion
this
between whether or not it's the
policy, since
marching
we
band.
don't have all the answers to some of these questions, is it not ready to go to the
No,
board
no, I'd go to
already
the board
next
then
week?
anyway. No, I'd go to
I
the
know
board
we can
with it
still go to the
anyway.
board the way it
I'm
is
just curious.
because we have to have a discussion at that level. But call. I know Livermore has them on their high school fields.
The money doesn't disappear because we haven't decided what we're going to do with it yet.
and the community could always ask what we did with it. But my guess is it's not going to be the community that's going to want to know. It's going to be the football coach if it's at the stadium, the football coach and the marching band director to say, hey, where did that money go? Why can't we use it for certain things? And whether that's maintenance of the field or new equipment for both teams or one or the other.
Or could all just go to a general fund. I mean,
Right. So
What about the soccer coach?
I'm hoping we hire one. We don't presently have a boys soccer coach. So
I don't like soccer. I'd help.
Offering?
no.
Soccer?
No.
He coaches soccer.
Drafted.
There you go.
For years, coach soccer.
Years.
It's drafted.
That's a stipend.
That's how you do that. It is a stipend. It is a stipend.
We'll stip in the test.
It's a huge stipend too.
pretty good.
Action items. There are none. Future agenda items we kind of talked about. Is there anything else anyone else wants to talk about on a future agenda?
Not I.
So we talked about modify the field use, right?
Yes. for the baseball and the softball.
In December, talking about theater and pool usage.
We can do it before if you guys really want. I was being a jerk. I just, to me, December, January seems about the right time to start getting that rolling just because.
I mean, given the fact that it's not going to be ready for quite some time after that anyway, it's
and the
super
theater
early,
is
so
closer to
whatever.
18 months, right?
You said theater would take
16.
16. So to me, it's really the pool.
Yeah, I just went a little early. That's all.
That's the one I would rather get in front of sooner rather than later. And if nothing else, I'd like on the next agenda a status of the joint, and it'll be for me to do the joint committee between the CSD and
District.
the district board about the joint use committee. That's what it'd be, the joint use committee. So, because that could also be something that we need to get involved with for the theater as well. So try to figure that out.
And I think this initial handbook, Tracy had those pieces that I took out because we didn't have those. I can revisit. At least it's a good place to start
Yeah.
for language.
Well, like I said, the theater one, particularly Amarillo Valley. So, any other agenda items? Dates. I cannot do the 27th. We're going into October. Let's see here.
So it turns out I'm not popular, so I'm available whenever.
We need to coach kids' sports.
No, I'm already doing stuff for kids. Yeah,
I can do the 11th
it's fine for
of
me.
October, which is 4 weeks from now. Or the 25th of October.
Yeah, the 11th is right before Dallas is
I don't think I don't have gate on either of those nights. So we should be good.
Nothing happens at that meeting anyway.
I'm trying. I am.
At least
it
wellness
matters.
is getting better. At least wellness is getting us more recess.
Honestly trying. Who's
Good
getting us
job,
more
David.
recess?
David Pombo.
David Pombo is getting us more recess.
David Pombo is wellness.
He's my hero.
I'm glad I'm somebody's hero.
Your gate, he's wellness. No, I don't know.
I
what that
prefer
stuff
the
is.
25th, between the 25th and the 11th, if nobody else has.
I don't know.
You
Man.
prefer the
The
25th?
truth is, it wasn't.
I'm
there.
fine with the 25th. You guys okay with the 25th?
I'm good with that.
That's fine for me.
That'll be after our board
The
meeting.
November one will probably have to be
Earlier in the month.
8th,
November 8th?
because we'll have to do on November 8th because that'll be the review for the declined permits. And we can't wait that long into it because it's
And we'll all be in town to vote anyway, right?
it is election day.
There's no, they don't
We
use
can't
the
do it on
district
that day. We
office,
can't do it on election day. That would be not appropriate at all.
We'll have people in here,
Yeah.
So we can't do it on the
right? We
8th.
have people in here.
We might not be able to do it on a Tuesday. So come prepared at the next meeting to talk about days that are not going to be a Tuesday for November. Because the day we would normally do it would be election day.
November what, 15th?
Yeah, but if we wait till the 15th, then
We can make Matt House great again.
denied application. Then denied applications only have 2 weeks from that date to try to scramble and get something done if we fully deny them.
We're capping at 31st, right, for the applications?
Right, so then that would, I'm looking at trying to get something done the week of the 7th, like the 9th.
We shouldn't have any,
It's the election day.
we wouldn't have any conflicting dates because we're not gonna allow them to overlap. They're gonna see what they can,
But
what's
we would,
available.
but anyone who's denied
Oh, I see.
needs to have an opportunity
I
to
see
come
what you're
before
saying.
us, and we would only give them, if we give them till the 15th, that only gives them 2 weeks to get it fixed. It just seems more fair to do something the week of the 7th. So whether that's the 9th, the 10th,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna be on a Friday night. I'm gonna shoot people before I meet on a Friday night.
We can do November now. We can do the 9th.
Do we have a board meeting the 9th?
So what's the first Wednesday in November? No,
first?
there's only one meeting in
Second.
there's only one meeting in November.
Okay, so then if you guys can
Which
do the
day is
9th.
it, though? Let
Do you have
me-
it on your calendar? I'm sorry,
Should,
Hold on, let me see if I do.
'cause I didn't bring my,
I have it on the 2nd,
yes.
so the
that's what
9th
I
should
have.
work.
so November 9th, that's my son's birthday. But
And
that's
all I
okay.
have is, what is Ted?
You want a different day?
That's okay. He lives in Rockland now.
Ted has a birthday, whoever Ted is.
Is that our new HR?
The new HR guy?
It just says Ted.
Is that filthy bear?
I'm guessing it's the filthy bear. Since I have no idea who Ted is.
November, what day is Ted's birthday?
Who is
November
Ted?
9th?
November 9th.
Okay.
So October 25th and November 9th.
October 25th?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
It worked better. It worked better for
And then
October
And then November
25th and November 9th.
2 weeks apart.
yes, it is. But the reason we're doing the 9th is for denied applications.
Okay, so Tuesday the 25th, October 25th.
Rita, you will send us invites as you always do because you're magically wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, because I would never have them on my calendar.
So October 25th and then November 9th.
Yes.
Got it.
At 6:30 here in this lovely, lovely room. Anyone else got anything else? Who's got my 5,000?
That looks
No.
like Kirk's writing.
All righty, then we are adjourned. I had one of our longer meetings in a while.
Bang that gavel.
It was all that public comment.
It was good seeing
Thank you, you
everyone.
guys.